In a realm where shadows dance with light, through the whispering woods at night, secrets echo through the air, meta mysteries everywhere. Voices drift on winds untamed, words like spells that can't be named. Close your eyes and feel the sound, journey where no bounds are found. Open doors inside your mind, leave the ordinary far behind. Colors swirl and stars align, in the meta mysteries you'll find.
Welcome to Meta Mysteries, where you don't know what you don't know. My name's Jonathan.
I'm Sean.
And today we have one super champion returning guest, probably the guest we've had on more than I think anybody.
Oh, yeah.
Byron, I'm sorry. Let me be proper. Lord Byron, Jester. What up, dude?
Going on? How you guys doing? Thanks for having me back on.
Oh, we're happy to have you, my dude.
Yeah, it's like my home away from home.
Right. Same here.
Yeah. I mean, hey, dude, we're happy to have you in this meta house, sir. And then there's also the Alchemist. What up, dude?
What's up, man? I'm stoked to be here, and I appreciate you guys giving me the invite. Like, if you know Byron Jester, then you are a high-class individual.
I mean, trying to not be a peasant in a magical world. You know, you'd rather be a wizard than be just a townie.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that shit.
So if you would, I mean, it's awesome that you're finally here. Lord Byron has talked about you plenty of times about certain things that you're into, but for all of the one out there, could you maybe give a little backstory on yourself and maybe how you got into your line of work?
Yeah, man. So when I was about 17, 18 years old, I started reading books about exorcisms, and that shit just like took me hardcore into religion. And as I was doing that, I even thought about kind of being a priest by the time I was 23. And I was going to school for different shit. And I thought about theology, it turned into demonology, and I got that. And I started going out and doing exorcisms. But on the sidelines here, I was looking into the Illuminati, Cabal, and that type of shit. And also seeing how magic was effective and a real thing. And so I was getting more into my studies into magic, actually, to be able to be someone that could kind of fight against it. But I ended up learning with like ancient history how everything is so disordered and everything is pretty much inverted as a reality. And it seems like things are very upside down and what we're taught from the government systems, our spiritual systems. And so it helped me kind of bridge the gap from Catholicism into black magic and going down that path. And for the past 8 years, I'd say I got really hardcore into black magic and learning about radionics and different meditations and just different things along the lines to help the energy body as well become more of a conscious being. And so I figure the Alchemist was my name because taking a little bit from different pantheons, religions, spiritual practices, working with the spirits of Necronomicon, the angels, the demons, it all's one concoction of what my vessel is and being. So yeah, I guess that's a roundabout way. Kind of saying like where I came from, why I am where I am now, and I also do hip hop and EDM music shows. That's another thing because I love getting wild. I got some shows coming up here, and so actually one of my new songs I just made, I had mantras on, is a subliminal in the background to kind of add more potency to the song, and it gets me fucking wild up, man. So
Let's go, dude.
yeah, that's pretty much my thing, and I also do exorcisms in my area. I've not done many recently. Well, I guess I did one yesterday in a music studio. I guess that does technically count. But like individuals, I haven't done anything in a couple of years, but I just got a new case. So if you're in the Midwest area, you need an exorcism, I might be the guy. Might be
Hell
him.
yeah. Well,
Trying to
look,
fight those demons,
yeah, dude, got to fight them or join them, however you want to go with.
whichever happens, I guess.
So in the last show that we had Lord Byron on, he brought on J.S. Garrett, which was an awesome show. And a lot of cool things were said, some of them about you as well, as far as certain what is it called? Exorcisms. And,
Mhm.
and I can't remember if he was referring to you with the exorcism as far as doing it in the name of Mickey Mouse, or
Oh,
was that
uh,
somebody else you were talking about?
yeah, that was someone else. He was a Pentecostal preacher for like 40 years or something.
Dude, that
Yeah.
is crazy. So you being into exorcism, who do you usually try to expel said entity in the name of? Is it usually in the name of a certain entity?
Really, it goes about. So let's say I go to a Christian's house. Like yesterday, it was at a Christian studio, which they still let me do this mantra in there, which is cool as shit. But when I went there and we picked up something on a ghost box, and I could feel a spirit, and actually, as soon as it says there's something here, you have to express yourself. And then all of a sudden, the sound of a door opening occurred, which was really cool. But for there, I called upon Jesus Christ because he was comfortable with them. And I find Jesus Christ is like an ascended master, is Buddha and other people along the lines of being able to connect to that source and have that energy of God consciousness. So having his presence there, and so I just did it with him, or Saint Michael the Archangel. If we're talking that, if I go to a Christian's house now, if someone said you can come here and work with anyone, I've cleared rooms, like hardcore infested rooms, by just calling upon Lucifer and saying, "May your presence be in here and cleanse this room on every corner of it." And you can, like, I'm no bullshit like that. Like you walk into a haunted house, you feel that eerie feeling being watched. To a light, I feel comfortable. I could sleep in here just by calling that. Or from the Necronomicon, Lugalabi de Burr is a spirit, and his mantra. I don't know if you guys give a shit if I do this on here, but like
Let's go.
Agni Bol. And saying that over and over, you're going to bring this blue flame into that environment, and it's going to burn away anything that is a parasite there. And then you can also use that to meditate, just sitting in darkness or a candle lit, whatever the hell you like to do. And that will also help clear up any bullshit that's on your energy body by just plugging that in and saying that over and over. But yeah, it really comes down to the comfortability of where I go to. But yeah, I can go anywhere, I think it might be a little bit rough for me if it was an Islamic home, because I just don't really like that God. There's nothing really. It's just too much war going on there. But other than
Is
that,
that
I think I
is
could
that
do
not
it.
the same God of Abraham that the Jews and the Christians pray to?
Yes, I agree that that is the same God.
I
So
think
like
so
when
too.
so when you work with Jesus, I feel like I can work as that as an energy vessel of itself and not have to get Jehovah, Yahweh involved with the bullshit. But that's also why I pulled away from Christianity, is because I mean, even the thing with Joe sacrificing 10 goats and still getting shit on. I mean, holy shit, dude. You did that to a demon, in your life, the rest of your life's gonna be fucking wild and great, in my personal opinion. But I'm
Oh,
just
dude.
saying,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
crazy.
he brought up his homeboy to the mountain, told him to sacrifice his own little baby son, and
Yeah.
like got all the way up there, had this dude thinking that he was getting ready to sacrifice his kid, and God's like, I was playing, player.
Yeah.
Why are you playing games like that?
And the compromise was cutting the tip of his dick off. You
Oh,
know,
that's
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
that's where circumcision comes from.
Oh,
Well,
Wow.
I mean, at least he was cutting it, and he didn't have a rabbi suck the blood off.
Yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
God.
That's some weird stuff too. Like
Yeah.
people don't know about that. And that's also the problem when it comes to people who haven't looked in like ancient history as Sumerians and all the knowledge that they had back then, and then the corruptibility of the things that they were celebrating. And they say that Christianity baptizes certain pagan holidays and takes it over for themselves. And it's like, dude, they did that. They killed people. They burned people at the stake for making medicine. And it just finds its way into that whole corrupted system of putting you in a box, in a box, in a box. And honestly, begging on your knees, asking, "I can I please let this happen?" Like, dude, that gets tiring as fuck. Where you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna open up this sigil and ask this entity, and shit's gonna fucking happen because that entity wants to work in this world to help out my change.
Is that we've heard other people talk about it as well, among them Lord Byron talking about how demons tend to work a little bit faster than the entities of the light, so to say.
Oh, yeah, oh, definitely. And that's even if the entities of the light will even take your request. And I do believe Raphael goes outside the Christian pantheon. But for example, if you were to get really, really sick and ask Raphael for help, there's a possibility that he might not, because it's supposed to be in your long run of your life. Like, you're supposed to be sick during this, and you're supposed to learn this and that. And then not get healed. And then you can just say, well, fuck that. Marbos from the Goetia, he's gonna not only help me get healed and get on that right away, but he's gonna also help upgrade my body. If I ask him, hey, can you also help me upgrade my energy body and to be able to have a stronger immune system and get the downloads to learn about the different supplements, food, exercise, whatever it may be to help out my energy body. So that's something too. I feel like the angels are more like of a program, and then if it doesn't fit in, then it'll be like error, 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 and like not allow that to go through. And demons are like, nah, we're gonna bypass all that shit.
Oh my God.
I wonder if there's something to that though, as far as, the let's say the angel saying, "No, no, you're supposed to be sick right now," and then you bypass that, like say you're using a demon or something of that nature, and they're just like, "Okay, we'll go ahead and heal you." I wonder why that is. Why is that programmed in for the angel to not heal you? You know what I'm saying? And I
Yeah.
wonder what is the potential of something coming back in a negative way because of that, because you didn't go through that journey of feeling sick. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out
Yeah, no, I like that. And I do think that there is a possibility that in the life review, if you choose to do that, because I do think you can still reincarnate outside of having to go through this judgment or whatever, but it could change your path completely. Like there's certain people that you can meet because you couldn't find your car keys in the morning,
there.
and then because of that, you met a certain person. So it could be
Right.
something to do with your life path, and that's why they say when you work with demons, it opens up other shit. But yeah, I guess I got to a point I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like the overview, the overlord, because like once again, I feel like it's a part of control. So I'm like, maybe you don't want me to be sick, but like fuck that. I need to get to work and get that done. And I guess I haven't seen any blowback from that though.
Okay. All right.
Well, I was just thinking too, as far as the certain entities, demons, angels, whatever. Um, so all of that manifestation power or healing power or whatever it is that you're trying to get them to carry out while you're performing one of these, whatever it is, whatever kind of ritual, whenever you're using them, do you think that all of that power and all of that energy comes only from them, or is it somehow syncing up together with your energy, your manifestation power, whatever? Like, do you think that you actually play in the helping of whatever the ritual may be? So if let's just put it out for an example. Let's say somebody comes to you and they want a ritual to get rid of cancer, right? And so you'd call on a specific demon or angel or whatever. I mean, is your energy also helping that case, or is it only from the angel or the demon?
Oh, so I would show it as I'm a vessel, and there's different like hoses that I could connect into that angel or that demon, and it's going to go through me, and then through me as a physical vessel, I'm able to, for instance, a demon's not going to be able to do anything unless someone petitions him to. So it's going to have by my will to allow that portal to be open for that to happen.
Mm,
And if I also have a stronger energy body, due to Qigong or whatever it may be, I can also add my intent and my energy into that working, compounding on top of the ritual itself with that entity. So I do believe it comes from both,
mm,
because they have to have a permission to be able to
mhm,
go through and do shit. So without their help too, then I would just be doing energy work, doing Reiki essentially across the way. So it's like let's add that on top of it. And I mean that's what makes radionics too. I know I don't want to derail anything too far and go in the weeds, but got my weed whacker. But the radionics on top of it, it's just like a third layer to the energy to the ritual that I'm going to be performing. So it's my energy, a demon's energy, and then the energy of a technological device to add that much more potency to it. So I just feel like different ways to help add and amplify your ritual. And if fire there too, and if you want to get a lancet and add a little of your blood to it, whatever it is you want to do to layer to add more potency to that ritual, I think you can.
I love that. That actually makes a lot of sense. Something it would need somebody in the 3D world to give it permission to come in. And that was kind of leading me into my other question, but I feel like that kind of answers the question as well, as far as if somebody has a demon that takes over. You know what I'm saying? You said you do exorcisms and such. So what is it that gives the demon the permission to enter someone's body with, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
then requiring an exorcism.
So most of the time, if not all the time, it's not even a demon. It's just a negative energy of darkness that you could call it a poltergeist. You could call it a Gregor, whatever it may be, a built up of psychic energy that can become a dark construct due to our psychic energy. It comes off of us as humans.
Mm,
And I know the Ouija board does open up a whole entire like pit of basically a door to endless entities. And on the astral plane it's like a light that's opened up and flickering, and that's also how you are on the astral field. When you become more conscious, you become more the spirits on the other side can see that you're more aware and all that. So that can open up the door. If you're not taking care of yourself mentally, if you're doing things in a negative way, like you're depressed and now you're opening yourself up to these spirits and you're becoming
mm,
more codependent on them and you want their energy and then they're taking your energy. And eventually, if they take enough of your energy, then it can hop into you by draining you so much. And
mhm,
when it comes to demons and stuff, like I really haven't had to deal with anyone. Like a spirit might say it's a demon, but it's just kind of imposing is that spirit. Because if you call forth that spirit and be like, "Hey, what's going on here?" 9 times out of 10, they're like, "That shit's not me. It's just an imposter." But if someone was to be possessed by a demon, I believe it's because they've been doing things haphazardly, making statements in their ritual and not understanding the effects that are going to take place, and like
mm,
or opening a ritual and then not finishing the ritual, because then that energy is just going to be sitting there as a fucking beacon just shining, shining, shining. And if you pull that energy in and you don't send it somewhere, well then that shit's going to be working on the location which it's open. And so I think a lot of that comes down to intent. And if you're gonna fuck around and call forth Belial and then half-ass do all that shit, well then I think he might fuck with you, honestly. Like what are you
right,
doing, dude? Like,
right.
And the thing with like a more ascended demon too, and there's a convolution when it comes to these terminologies, but yeah, like a more ascended demon, something like Belial, if he was to possess you, it would probably be for like some temporary goal. It probably only lasts a little while and then it's done with. It's different than
mm,
having a negative entity attached to you, you know.
yeah.
Mhm,
Damn. That's crazy, dude. Because we've always been led to believe by certain religions that these things are absolutely demons. And that's what I thought was pretty strange whenever you said that you go over and do an exorcist sometimes to get rid of a negative entity most people would call demons, but
Yep.
do it in the name of Lucifer, which seems a little backwards if you're looking at these as all the devil's minions.
And I mean that's the thing too. When I say the world's inverted, I find more trepidation and binding in the Christian dogma, and I found myself to have more self-hatred because I didn't feel like I was good enough. And honestly, a great example, when I was 23, 24. I did this love magic on this girl that just got done dumping me, and I was like, "Here, help me get this girl back." All this other bullshit. And Salos, he's a demon of the Goetia, 19th spirit. Shout out, Salos. Um, and he told me, quit smoking cigarettes, and you'll get her back." So I was like, "All right, cool, thanks." 2 weeks go by, and I'm like, "Dude, why the hell am I not? Where is she?" He's like, "Dude, you need to quit cigarettes. You need to get your body in shape, and that girl's trash." And so in my like at that moment in my life, I realized, you know what? If these demons were bad, I would have ended up with that woman. I would have got married to her, and if she would have divorced me, I would have got depressed and blew out my freaking brains. And so they have a bigger scope of things that not only you want to accomplish in your life, but also like if you do a ritual and the outcome doesn't happen, you've officially given it off to another higher intelligence entity that's going to do what needs to be done versus what you want to be done in your long run of shit. But, that can also suck sometimes. So then you're like, well, fuck, I'm going to call 6 other spirits and
Yeah.
see who would do it. But sometimes a brick wall is a brick wall.
Yeah, it seems like, that he was kind of looking out for you in that way, right?
Yeah.
He got you to quit smoking cigarettes, got you to start working out, and then said, don't bother with her. You're going to be able to do so much better than that. And,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool, dude. So just out of curiosity, how was that demon communicating with you?
Oh, man, this is beautiful. So, uh, one, when I would call him forth, I would hear a popping when I would call his name, like when something gets like a wall gets flicked really hard, which showed that the spirit's energy body has arrived there. In the psychic field, it's not that I'm imagining anything. It's this energy body when I work with a spirit comes over me, kind of like water, and then I can see them roughly how they are and what their energy is. And so he would show himself as a great a duke on a crocodile. And so when I petitioned him for one of the help with this one girl, I was like, did you hear me? Did you hear me? And then I opened up my phone and a picture of that girl just uploaded something of her hand with a crocodile's mouth over her arm to show that like he did do something. So like things like that where you're like, holy shit, that is so synchronistic that even though I'm not hearing this physical verbiage, I feel your energy, and now I'm seeing things take place, omens basically, to show me that you have. And I think actually it was on the 19th day the person posted it too. So it was like, oh, the 19th spirit of the Goetia and a picture of a crocodile, which you showed yourself, has showed that you have heard me and that we have communication.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Damn, my wife, our anniversary is on the 19th. That's kind of strange. And then her birthday is on the 19th too. That's fucking weird.
Hail Salos.
I guess so. Yeah. We gotta get to know these demons of the Goetia.
I think so.
And is it fair necessarily to call them demons? I mean, that might sound like a very contrived question, but the reason why I ask it is because the word demon has such a fucking stink to it, to where you say that somebody is working with demons. Ah, Lucifer.
Yeah.
Here's Satan. It's always something negative. And especially if you tell people like I made the mistake of telling my Christian co-host on my other show, The Cult of Conspiracy, that I've talked with people who work with demons. And he goes, and I say, well, they're not what they seem. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that they're pure of light spirits, but they're definitely not 100% darkness.
They're not what they're made out to be.
Because these people are working with them and they're getting results. And he's like, oh, well, that's exactly what they would want you to think. And I'm like, okay, there's not really any way of proving that. I mean, not to somebody who is always going to look at demons and certain I guess, negative spirits in that light, you're always going to look at them like they're evil, which, I mean, hey, we're not looking to prove this to anybody. And by no means am I suggesting for everybody to go get the demons of the Goetia and start practicing black magic. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, you got to look into things because, and in my opinion, whenever there's a certain stigma on something, it's usually, especially conspiratorially, for example, right? Like the flat earthers get a bad rep. And it's always because, oh, you're an idiot. Your IQ must be really low. You look outside and you see a flat earth. And it's like, well, the flat earthers, I mean, you can agree or disagree that the earth is flat or round, but they're on a lot of shit. They were calling out NASA. They were calling out certain, was it 8 inches per mile squared or whatever, as far as the curvature goes. Clearly, that's been proven time and time again to not be, at least not correct math. And then as far as all of the International Space Station bullshit, it's like, all right, so that's what it got us to look at. So in my opinion, whenever I hear somebody slandering a flat earther in the mainstream media or somebody, high ranking or whatever, I just immediately assume that they don't want us looking into what's going on in the ISS. They don't want us looking into the actual geometry and the math that they say is absolutely true. They don't want us, questioning NASA or any of these things because these things have a lot to lose if they were to be proven wrong by the masses. So, in my opinion, whenever something has a negative stigma, I always wonder if it's something like that. You know what I'm trying to say?
Oh, you just said right there is exactly what pulled me into wanting to learn more about it all, because there's been so much bullshit that's been covered up that now is coming into the truth and the light, and you realize it's upside down. This is completely contrary. Like cigarettes, they said were healthy back in the day, and then they sold this
Pregnant
stuff
women.
as medicine, and we know what happened with that. And like demon comes from the Greek word, I believe it's Greek, daemon, which is teacher. And angel comes from the word angel, which is messenger. And so if you're looking at it just on that level, it's like, of course I'm going to work with these spirits as a teacher and seeing it as an ancient god, just as, the Greeks did when they worked with their ancient gods and all things along those lines. And I find more knowledge I'm gaining working with them and understanding who I am as a person than I did going and begging on my knees all the time. And actually, it was funny what you're kind of mentioning on it a little bit ago. Like I used to teach CCD. I taught a high school youth group. I went to college groups, adult groups, all to help keep like teaching about Christianity and stuff. But I would always get ostracized and I'd eventually get kicked out because someone would ask me about something about exorcism and demonology. So they'd ask me something about, ancient history, and I'd bring up the pyramids and how I think that's kind of weird that it's like 1,500 miles away to move these stones, and it's so perfectly aligned, and it'd be almost impossible for us to replicate what has been done. And even how the Dogon people knew about the stars way before even Christianity existed, about where Sirius Major was up in the sky, and not till like a couple less than 100 years did we get a microscope, I mean, telescope, to be able to see that that was there. And so there's all this ancient knowledge once again in the back, and they say that we just progressively gotten smarter. And I just feel like we have so much more that's already being used against us. I mean, for instance, the weather has been ridiculous lately. And I've had so many experiences with radionics where I've been able to change the weather, getting rid of storms. And like even as I was driving, I had this one mini box in my car that I can use in the car. It's like my Batmobile in there. And it was raining, and I attuned it, and I turned on the song "I Can Stop the Rain" by DMX. And in 10 minutes, even though it's supposed to be raining for the rest of the time I was driving, 10 minutes later, that storm stopped. Well, if
Oh
my
shit.
ass knows about this shit, and I've also know about, in secret orders, they work with these certain spirits, and not till you get to the highest level can you work with that. Like, why would I not just do all that and see for myself? And what I've come to the conclusion is they don't want us to work with demons. They don't want us to work with radionics. They don't want us to do anything other than just pay our money at the church and give it all up. Don't worry about it. Trust the government. Take your pharmaceuticals. Eat that trash, and don't question anything. And be a good person. And I just am like, that's bullshit. So I do think that the whole thing with demons, it's almost a racist term in a sense, because even the word Satanism, like that's going to make people think a certain way. But when you put it in a broad scope of things, uh, if I'm just a person that worked with a different spirit outside of the Christian dogma, they would, even if it was a Hindu god, they're going to say, oh, he's working with a demon because that's not God. So they put everything inside of this ball of anything that's not Jesus Christ, God, or if you're Catholic, Mary, or any of the angels, you're working with demons. And then even the fact that there's certain yoga poses that they're like, that's evil too. Like, dude, my back's great now. I feel younger. What do you mean?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's always something evil. But you know what I always find super strange? And this is not to come at any specific Christians or anything out there or any religious people. I mean, you do you, and we're not going to sit here in judgment because to be honest, that's why a lot of people are chased away from Christianity is because of said judgment. So we're not going to do that. But what I do find strange is that anytime you're working with something paranormal or anything spiritual, it's always has to be evil. It always has to be demonic. You open up a tarot deck, demonic. You open up a pendulum. Meditation, the same thing. I mean, there has been times where people have thought that they're how I don't remember exactly how long ago this was, but basically the first time I guess religious people went to India, they saw that there was some kind of guru of sorts that was levitating during meditation, and they thought clearly demonic. Clearly, this is otherworldly and it's coming from a dark power. And I'm just like, okay, so everything is evil. And where's the good stuff? Like God, Jesus, all the angels and everything, they don't get credit for anything. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody
Mhm.
else gets any kind of good credit. And I don't know, it throws me off a little bit, especially whenever you had mentioned about bringing up the pyramids and how they move all that rock and stone, 1,500 miles or however far away in order to get it there, because some people will say, well, there was a river that ran right along and so they could have just used that. And I don't think that that's what happened. I mean, I'm personally of the mind that it was of some kind of levitation. I don't claim to know exactly how they were able to do it, or some kind of sound frequency in order to move them, something like that. But if you go ahead and ask any question like that, it's I and tell me if you've gotten the same answer, where you ask a question like that and they're like, "Well, that's clearly not real. That's just the devil trying to deceive you." It's always that, like anything historical that goes back more than 3,000 years, it's always, well, that's just the devil trying to deceive you. And I'm like, are you sure?
Yeah, actually, so there's this men's group I was in, and I got to a point where I actually brought up the pyramids, and I was like, I see them. They could have possibly been an energy chamber to be able to help out maybe the atmosphere, or maybe once the sun and moon hit a certain place, someone could sit in there, the pharaoh or whatever, and it could help energize their body. And I don't think that they was just made by slaves just for some pharaohs for no purpose. And I was told that, yeah, those questions are, it's too much. And like, if you want to be in this group, you're going to need to stop bringing up those type of questions. You're getting too off track. This is just about Jesus and your relationship with Jesus. Not Don't worry about all those questions, and you keep bringing them up. And so I never went back to it. And then for a couple months, I'd get calls saying like, you're walking away from your faith because you can't just follow Jesus. So that definitely brought some hospitality to the situation at hand. But
I mean,
yeah,
look, Jesus can still exist, and with the pyramids. Like, I don't know why if one exists, the other one can't. I could just never really understand that kind of philosophy, like,
even I mean, even the fact that it could possibly have been the Nephilim. Let's just say it was the giants. Let's say their dogma of the giants, which I do believe giants were here, but giants built the things and they did it for a dark sacrificial thing, and it is some evil thing. Regardless of what it is, I'm not trying to attack the religion. I'm just asking the question about pyramids and then aliens and stuff. And don't even bring up aliens with Christians. Like 100% all the time, they say they're demons. It's nothing but demons. And it's like, I don't, I mean, you guys can say what you want, believe what you want, but that could be the angels for all we know.
I mean, how are we gonna know? You know,
Yeah,
like, how are you gonna prove it in a certain way? I mean, we talk about how you heard of the Bledsoe family, Chris Bledsoe seeing the orbs, and then the lady coming and having a conversation with him, talking about the future. Have you looked into the Bledsoe?
no, uh-uh.
Oh,
Fucking
Yeah,
fascinating,
it's
bro.
fascinating. Yeah, they say some crazy stuff, but they don't. I don't get any vibe that they're really lying. So if they are lying, they know how to lie.
Yeah, really well. And so I don't know. That's I like looking into that kind of stuff. And if you're gonna sit here and tell me that the messages that this guy is getting from the orbs is clearly demonic, or if you're talking about our boy Electro Nick that's talking to the Pleiadians, that is either a delusion or demonic. It's double D's all the day, all the time, right? And
right.
so I'm like, I don't. Are you
Yeah.
sure? How can you be so sure that this is either whack job of a mind or demonic? Like that's the
Right.
only two options.
And all of the, whenever we've talked to Nick, shout out to Nick, haven't talked to him in a minute, but we love you. We love you, man.
We love you.
Every time he's come on and he's told us about the messages that he's gotten, I can't find a single thing wrong or evil or anything that has any kind of ill intention behind it. And if it does, it must be the longest of long games to play. You know what I mean? To fool the
Mhm.
masses, because everything in these messages are just so pure and full of love and good intentions. And it's like, where's the bad in that? I just can't find it.
Well, and also think about it like this. It went from UFO, unidentified flying object, and then
Hmm.
it went to UAP. At first, it was UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon, and
Yeah.
now they changed it to unidentified anomalous phenomena, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And that's because they found, well, they're not all in the air. Sometimes they be
Right.
in that water.
Yep.
So and it's like, all right, well, the demons are coming from every angle now, I guess.
Right.
I'm just like, maybe
Yeah,
these
man.
actually these entities are looking out for our best interests. And I like to think that because if these things are evil, whatever the UFOs are, I have no idea. I mean, maybe they're angels, maybe they're just orbs, maybe it's just trapped energy in a bubble, who knows. Whatever they are, if if they were going to take us out, why wait?
What are we waiting
Like
for?
why what are you waiting
Exactly.
for? Like just
Just
take us
do it
out.
already. Do it
Yeah.
already.
It kind of it's I feel like it's like Star Trek. Like there's like a universal code. They can only do so much and work with us to a certain point. But I mean, I do believe the government's working with a certain sect of them, and I think that all the sects and all the different just like because people talk about Pleiadians, Andromedans, Reptilians, Draconians, all these different things that they're just different species of different races of intergalactic shit going on, man. And I think it's not just one; it's many, and that's why nothing's really fully happened because it's not just like one type of race. There's multiple things going on, and that's what I think
Mhm.
lots of these secret orders are doing. I think some are in connection with different races of alien beings that you could maybe call that one demonic and call that one this and that, but sometimes I do feel like when I call forth Belial, it could be actually a psychic transmission to a spaceship, and he has all these like alien entities up on there. But I mean, I can't say, yeah, guys, I got the evidence for that shit. But I felt that way. So sometimes I do feel like some of these spirits could be that. But angel and demon, it's once again, if you saw them with your eyes on the spiritual realm, it'd be really hard to tell a difference between the two.
Oh, I
Mhm.
imagine they're
I believe
probably
that.
super frightening and you're going to shit your pants either way. I mean, you're talking about something that is probably other dimensional, and imagine seeing a fourth dimensional object in the third dimension. It would probably trip you out regardless of what it is. It could be a tree and you see it in the 4D, you're like, "Oh
Right.
my
Right.
God, what did I just walk into?"
I feel like we probably already have, like on shrooms. I feel like there's a little bit of that
Yeah.
going on. Like we're peering into at least the fourth dimension.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
a bit
dude.
holographic.
100%. I'd say mushrooms and doing rituals. I mean, I'm not going to say anyone out there go do that because not everyone can handle that type of shit.
Right.
But I will say, like that watery feeling of feeling the energy presence of the spirit when you're on mushrooms, you can feel it
Hmm.
tenfold. And then their presence just lingering around, like, and then for the
Hmm.
next few days, like you can still pick up on it subtly.
Hmm.
It definitely opens up your vision. And I do feel like mushrooms and such actually help you connect to that God consciousness because I believe we
Hmm.
all have that within us. And
Yep.
I even think that Jesus, when he says in the Bible, you can do miracles as I have, you know.
Hmm.
And
Exactly.
so that's the way I approach all of it. I'm like, I can be blamed as bad. I can be damned to hell just because I don't say Jesus Christ is my savior. But I can do all the miraculous things that he's doing, pushing different spirits out and making this a greater conscious place for people to grow, and then to also love themselves and reflect that light outwardly, knowing that they have unlimited potential within them. And
Hmm.
so I see things like that. But then, it's once again, once you talk to someone who's religious, it's like, you got to calm that down. You got to chirp that down a little bit. And so I don't know. That's also another problem with it. It's just a restriction. It really
Hmm.
pisses me off.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And usually you'll get a lot of that judgment from people who haven't even read the whole book. You know what I'm like?
Yeah.
I'm just like, you haven't even read the whole thing. You got your entire philosophy of what this book actually means from reading a chapter, maybe a
Mhm.
couple of excerpts. Like there's more to it than that. And I mean, I'm not sitting here and judging. I'm just like, look, one of the main facets of that religion is to not judge. Yet, for some reason, they just always feel, not all of them. Of course, there are people that literally, they do practice within the lines, I would say. My wife identifies as a Christian and she never judges, doesn't work, doesn't do any of that crap. I will say she's also one that hasn't read the whole thing. And to be honest, it's kind of a boring read. Let's just be honest. Like, kind
Oh
of fucking,
shit.
it's a little boring, right? Especially whenever you go down some of the heritage and you're reading about this
Yeah.
came from this guy, came from this guy. It's like, all right, I get the fucking point. But anyway, all right. So I did want to understand a little bit more about the exorcism. And so I mean, first off, how does anybody know that you have these services? Is it kind of like a word of mouth kind of situation? I mean, I can't imagine that you know that many people that need exercise on a regular basis.
Yeah, yeah. So, for instance, this last person, who probably next week I'm going to be going down about an hour away to go do a cleansing of their property and do a cleansing on them too. This person, the guy who I go to the studio with, it was just word by mouth. Like someone was talking to him about cases that they're having with the paranormal, and he said, "Hey, I know someone that does that. Go check them out." And so a paranormal investigating team hitting me up. Here in my hometown, there's this haunted mansion that I go to probably about once every 2 months. They have like kind of galas and holiday stuff there. So people just, it's a natural conversation thing. You're in a haunted mansion, you're going to talk about spiritual stuff. So then they get my name and then they pass that on. Actually, one time I was walking in a church and this guy comes up out of nowhere and he says, "Hey, man, this is really random. But do you know anything about exorcism?" And I've never talked to this person before, never seen them before, and they asked me that out of nowhere. So it really is a word of mouth. Some people who know me from JS's channel or Become a Living God, where I have a book on there, or just like my own channel on L the Alchemist. Like if they've watched my stuff, I have my email there too. I have been hit up that way too about stuff. But yeah, it really just comes from word of mouth at this point. But it's not like I have like a ad thing saying, "Hey guys, hit me up if you need anything like that." It really just naturally comes. And that's why I feel like it's a part of my duty to do that, because it's just so natural and I'm not trying to go look for stuff. It just happens to land on my lap.
Yeah. And when you go to these places, like say the haunted mansion, or you show up to someone's place before you do a cleanse, and you walk in there, do you have some sort of feeling or some type of like you can feel the dark energy, or is there anything that you can kind of sense upon walking into these places?
Yeah. So for instance, this person I'm talking to now, after I got to talk to them, and then also seeing how they message, that's a huge thing too. Seeing how people send you a message, you can see whether or not it's more a mental thing or if it's a spiritual thing. And then I'll use tarot cards before I even go to say, hey, is this an actual situation going on? So I can kind of get more of a yes or no and know that. And then when I arrive at the place, not always off the bat am I gonna feel something. Now I have entered places, especially that one I mentioned, Lucifer, where like it felt like pointed daggers staring at you. And I'll tell you guys a crazy paranormal thing that I had to go through. That was a huge thing with that. But when you feel the eyeballs watching you, like it doesn't matter if you're in your room by yourself or you're walking around, it just feels like something's peeking around the corner. Like we all know what it feels like when you have a loved one enter a room and then they look at you and like you know they're in that room, like you can feel their energy.
Mm,
It's just like that, only it's an uncomfortable feeling like this thing doesn't want me here, and you can feel kind of that tension. And it's also an energy that when you walk into a room where there's been a huge argument, you can feel that aftermath type of like this not a good vibe type shit.
mm,
So it definitely is more of a vibe feeler when you enter a place like that. But yeah, if I'm feeling the eyes and shit, then I know there's a problem. But if I don't feel anything, that's when after I walk around the location, then I'll call out to it. Like the yesterday at the studio, I didn't feel anything, but then I was like, "Look, you might be hiding, so I'm gonna call you forth now. And if I have to, I'm gonna call other spiritual companions to make you show yourself. So do it before I have to do that." And then that's when that door opening sound happened. So I was like, "Okay, thank you for cooperating."
right,
And that's usually
right,
I don't like to say it's my trump card, but it is my trump card because it's just like I will open up this circle right now, and like you do not want whatever else is gonna come through here. Let's just work
right.
one on one.
Right. Yeah, it's so awesome actually that we have you on today, because actually just last night, I believe it was, I had a dream, and I know there was a lot more to this dream, which is what I often say because I can barely remember most of my dreams. There's only like a part that seemed a little more significant than I can usually remember. And in this dream, there was like this space that I was like trying to walk into. I don't know if it was like a room, but it looked a little more, I don't know, it looked kind of fancy, and it felt so heavy. Like for whatever reason, I don't know if it was like a poltergeist type of thing or just some type of dark energy, but I was trying to walk into this place, and I just felt like this dread, or this like this very uneasy feeling throughout my entire body, and I just felt super heavy. And I don't know, I just thought it was kind of interesting that I had that dream, and then we have you on and we're talking about this kind of shit. So
Yeah,
synchronicity.
Well, you know what's
yeah.
cool too is that well, not what's cool, but I think that, through meditation and other practices and trying to become more aware of your surroundings and a lot of people, they'll go into a situation, they'll start feeling a little uneasy, but they just assume that it's themselves, right?
Hmm.
Like, oh, I drank too much caffeine, or I didn't drink enough water, or I must have eaten something bad, or whatever. It's always something like that, usually. But I feel like for the people who are in this realm of meditation and magic and just things like that, a little bit more mental and a little bit more aware of who you are in order to distinguish yourself from whatever other energies that are around you. And I think that most people wouldn't really catch up on that, but for you to be able to walk into a place like that, or for you to be able to go somewhere and be able to sense that negative energy, I would say that's a pretty damn good skill to have, because you know what energy your energy feels like. And so
Hmm.
whenever there's another energy introduced, it's like,
There's no
you're
confusion.
yeah, like your senses are going off at a certain point. What exactly, whenever you walk into a place and you sense that different energy, like what is it typically that gives it away?
Oh, for sure, the uneasiness of a person or a weight. It's like a darker weight that someone has. Like I actually have a story where I went to I'd go to the gym. I'd love the fucking gym. And this person, I felt this weight on them, and I could see it on them. And it's not like I'm visually seeing it, but it's once again like in that water when you're communing with a spirit. Well, if I know my own energy wavelength and all that stuff, when I enter a place, you can just feel in the location of it. It's almost like a bat, how it uses its like psionic woo woo, and like it's like, all right, that area of the house, that's where the problem is, that's where the poltergeist is coming from. And it's just like this sense that goes off, and it's nothing that I can say like I know how or why I have this gift, and I do believe we all have the gift. But I think it does come to that meditation, that calmness to your knowing yourself. And then if you have that intention and you're entering a place, then it's like, you're on the hunt. And so then your senses are like, all right, hyper focused. And if you have guides with you, familiars or whatever it may be that's already there with you, it's like, oh, they're going to help you do that too. Like sometimes I'll ask, hey, if there is something here, like help pull me right where I need to go. And just like a familiar of mine. And I shut my eyes and I can see them running over to a place and I just follow them. And then I'm like, oh, okay. I can feel that type of oppression inside of this sector of the house. But you know what? Something too that's kind of weird is I don't know the best way. The psychotic, I kind of like where the loony houses are. I
Mhm.
mean, I would imagine that about 50% of the people in there, it's not psychotic meds they need to be on, it's an exorcism that they need. But
Mhm.
and they're not getting the help that they need to. And I know that's going in the weeds. But yeah, like that's something too. Like I'm like, I wonder because when you walk in there, it's complete. The energy is so whack, man. Like anytime you enter one of those areas, so I'm almost like that whole place needs to be exercised and each individual like taken to another level. Like maybe there's just something inside of them and you get it out and they're not going to need that medication anymore. But once again, take this pill and you'll be fine. And that's our
Mhm.
society.
It'll dull it out for you. And it's always getting at, whatever the case may be. So if you got a headache, here, pop a Tylenol, that'll take the pain away. It doesn't actually help anything in your brain. The sensor that is coming out of your body telling you that maybe you need to drink more water, or eat something or whatever. It's just like, oh, this pill will cure it. And it's not necessarily curing it. It's just curing, the negative part that's surrounding it.
Mhm.
I did want to say, just offhand here, real quick, Byron, you told us in the last couple of episodes that we had a little bit of homework, and I just wanted to let you know I came through. Okay, I came
Sean?
through.
Oh man, you know what? I've been working so much, dude. It's been crazy. So I have not. I apologize. I'm just being honest with you.
All right.
I did it like a week ago. It was the night of the full moon, whenever that was, like a week ago.
That's right.
No, during the
And
eclipse, man, that was some intense energy, man. That was the most intense lunar eclipse I've ever felt.
yeah, well, what I did is and actually my wife was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I just went outside. We had like a little front porch out in our apartment with a little yard and everything. So I just went outside and I had a glass of water and I put my crystals inside of there to cleanse under the moonlight. And then I put a little shot of it was just a little shot of wine. And I was like, all right, I'm going to work. And I just called out the moon goddess, not any specific moon goddess, just the moon. And I was like, all right, I know that, you're a full moon. That means, you're kind of abundance and maybe you can help me with some health issues per se. I was feeling really sick. I had stomach aches like crazy. I was starting to get a little too chunky. And I was like, if you could make this process of losing weight a little bit easier, that'd be great. And just a bunch of really health related things. Dude, I tell you what, and now I have been doing keto, I have been working out and stuff like that, but I feel like there is some kind of energy that I'm getting from that. And now I don't know if I necessarily did it right. I brought it out there. I asked the question, for the help, and I just said thank you and walked away, came out the next morning, got my crystals out of the water, poured one out for the homies with the shot of wine there. And I don't know. I mean, did I do it right as far as the right of general offering?
Well, if you yeah, I mean it's good enough to start off with.
I
I
was
mean,
just
as long as at the end of the day, as long as you get results, as long as you start doing the work, because you can read all the books in the world, but until you actually start working, and it's just going to take practice, and you're going to get better at it. It comes really naturally. And with those, did you feel the energy of the crystals after they programmed in the moonlight?
Yeah, and you know what?
Stronger charge?
I always feel like, all right, so every time that I cleanse them out in the full moon, typically is whenever I do it, and I put them inside a glass of water. And I don't know if that's the right way, it's just the way I've always done it. But I put it out there, and usually my crystals, they stay on top of my tarot decks to charge them up. And so actually, that's what I was going to bring forth tonight, sir. Sean, I saw you shuffling over there, but I just wanted to say you might not have to do that tonight because I got a tarot deck that I'm really excited to use for the first time on this show.
Sounds good. Yeah, I saw you over there shuffling too, so I was like, oh, what's he got up his sleeve?
It's a tarot deck that I've always wanted, and it's the Thoth Tarot deck by Aleister Crowley.
Shit.
And I was like, I always wanted it. I've always looked for it everywhere. Back whenever I was in Christie's studio, I used to always ask her, when are you getting it? When are you getting it? And so I ended up on
back order, damn it.
Yeah, I ended up just caving, and I got it off Amazon. But
what better episode to break that bad boy out?
I was thinking that too. I was like, we're talking about magic here. I mean, whatever. I mean, Aleister Crowley literally saw himself like as the devil. You know what I mean? Like he saw himself as the evilest man in the world is like one of his adages.
Really?
So yeah, we'll get to that here. I just wanted to show you that I did try. At least I was just shooting for a C. I'm not trying to get an A+ my first time,
right. And I'm sure it was your best wine that you had. It wasn't like you were half-assing it with some cheap shit. It was probably the only wine you had.
Oh yeah, I mean it was
libations were great. Did you bless and charge the wine first?
No.
All right. Well, I mean, it still worked,
Onto a D.
And it will still work. Like that's the thing with magic, like as long as you're like serious and you put your intent in and you do it, it'll work almost no matter what.
Knowing Jonathan, the intent was 120%. I can almost guarantee. Totally.
I try to, I always try and connect with it in the best way that I can.
Yeah.
And just try and familiarize my energy with whatever energy that I'm trying to work with, and make it not seem like it's something that is completely opposite and, unfamiliar. Like I'm trying to talk to it almost as if it's like, I don't know, like a family member. Like that's kind of the way I like to try and connect with it, because I mean, you can talk to a million people, but you never talk to anybody like you talk to your family. And that's why me and Sean, created the show. We talk to each other like, I mean, we are literally cousins. So I mean, that's how you're going to talk to each other. But yeah, I mean, I can start working on it, try to get a little bit better with it. I mean, as you just said, you got to do it a million times.
At least you did it. At least you got started. You're only going to get better from there.
Yeah, I think so.
You just got to
shit like me, He's all Sean.
Well, I mean, and it's something that is pretty easy to do. At least the minimal amount that I did. And just go in there with the intention and try and connect with whatever you're trying to connect to, and just don't go out there and say, try and speak Latin whenever you don't even understand it. I don't think maybe that helps. I'm not sure. But I feel like, however you can connect to it in the best way that you know how to is probably a good first step.
Well,
I think so.
Doing ritual. So like for ritual magic, for instance, if you open up a sigil and you just drew it out of some entity or whatever, and then just no candles, no nothing, just sat there in meditation and asked, can you help me be able to do X, Y, Z? And then you burn that sigil. And then I was to do the same thing, only I'm putting my blood on top of the sigil. I make sure my candles, incense, and all that's there. It doesn't necessarily mean mine's going to manifest faster or stronger, because you have your intent there, and you're also giving what you feel in that moment to be the right thing to be doing. I might be having all these other hangups too, like, oh, I have to have this. And you just doing the magic, no matter what functionality it is, I mean, you're going to get an A because you're going out there and doing that. So we're bumping you up a letter grade.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it's also, when you're new, I think it's easier to kind of put the emotion into it. And I mean, not with everyone, but I mean, for the most part, when you're new, I think it's easier to put the emotion into it, than like there's times when you get so used to doing it all the time, it almost becomes mechanic. And
Mm,
so I think there's also that, when you're new to it, it's like it's more intense.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you're not so much doing it out of habit. You're being more peculiar with every move, maybe in the beginning, because maybe you're a little bit worried to do it wrong or something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Elle, you had mentioned about how you have performed love spells.
Yeah.
And I would like to know a little bit about that. We did a love spell show a few months back, and I'm not gonna lie, we tried doing the actual spell and the ritual and everything, and it didn't feel as purposeful, at least as the money spell that we did. The money spell instantly, like I'm talking about the next day, day after, like it was clear as day. And whenever we're doing shit like this, we know not to look at stuff like coincidentally. You know,
Hmm.
like, oh, I just so happen to be making the most amount of money I ever made in one day, the day after I do a money spell. Like,
Mhm.
and so if you could you describe maybe a way or at least parts of a way that you would perform a love spell?
Yeah, 100%. I am going to make the statement though. I quit doing love spells because the detachment of the outcome was too much for me. With money spells, it's easy to do, and then you're done. A baneful ritual, you get out all your anger, it's done. A protection rite, you do that, you have the protection, it's done. A love spell, you're putting your intent and desire for something and then letting it go. But to be able to unattach to that, especially if you're really interested in that person, that does make it a hang up and a block. And so that's why I personally like I don't really do them anymore. But if anyone was trying to do a love spell, um, what I would do is I would get a bottle, and it doesn't matter what bottle it is, whatever you want it to be. And I'd get honey. You could get lavender, roses, hibiscus. Just looking up different herbs that have certain attributes that you want to be added and layered within this love spell, and getting those herbs. And then I would find the spirit that's going to be able to help you fulfill that love spell. And now there could be a spirit like Sea Tree or Ladalock, which is more of I'm gonna go have sex with this person once and then never talk to them again, like hooking up. Spirits like Salos is more of the lines of building a loving, long-lasting relationship that you're gonna be able to get married with this person and have peace and prosperity in that relationship. And a spirit like King Beleth, to have your cup overfloweth with that love. And so, whether that's many one night stands or that one person, lots of sex, no commitment, or you get married, whatever it may be. So, you'd want to lock into what spirit you'd want to work with on that. And I'd print out the picture of the person who you're wanting to put that spell on, put the sigil on top of that person, just draw it out, and then on the back, write your intents, what it is. So, like, for instance, when I did Love Spell of Salos, a long lasting relationship with this girl, trust between us both, and also psychically connecting us to make it so we have more of a deeper connection other than the physical sphere. And then calling forth that spirit and giving offerings that you feel right. Like, for instance, if you just feel like one candle and that's it, then just make a candle and or buy a candle and offer that up to them, and then stare into that fire as that ritual's going on. You can get candy, whatever else you want to do, but you'd stare into that sigil as that fire is going forth and asking the spirit what it is you desire to happen. And then staring into that fire and locking in that vision of all the things that come about. Like you see each other and you smile. You see each other having deep conversations sitting there. You see each other passionately having sex, whatever it may be. And unloading all that energy into that sigil and into that fire, then putting that sigil in the bottle, putting the honey in there along with all those other ingredients, and then after you're done with that, storing that away. Or if you want to, you can bury it. It really, at that point, it comes down to how are you going to be able to let go and not worry about it. If you have radionics, a great thing to do would be the planet Venus and on the input and on the output that bottle. So then all that energy of Venus is also being funneled into that spirit through that radionics and adding that much more potency to the love spell. But like I said, if you're going for a hookup and stuff, and some people maybe it's easier for them to let go, but I get so fucking attached to shit that I got the spirits like we're cutting you off, and I was like, I'm cutting myself off, okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, those are the hardest spells I think to be performed, honestly.
They have the
So,
most side effects too. Like you always hear like when you go in like blogs and forums and stuff, people always have like these crazy stories that happen from love spells. Like they just always backfire in these really creative ways. You know?
Hmm.
Yeah, it can be like that's the thing. I know a couple love spells have worked for people that it worked out phenomenally, everything was
Yeah.
smooth, but then other people the person they fell for, then they as soon as that person liked them, they fell out of love with that person, and then that person becomes obsessed with them, and then ends up
The whole thing.
basically, yeah, it's a whole off letting themselves basically. And then you could also change someone's personality to the point where it's almost like you're dating a zombie, and so they lose all that, who they were. And plus health issues can happen too, because
Yeah.
maybe now that person's going to get sick for 2 years of their life and have their whole world flipped upside down, so then they see you through a different light. So yeah, those
Hmm.
are really, I mean, love spells and manipulation. I really find those in the same kind of accord, but self-love spells are definitely super helpful
Yeah, more
because
generalized spells where it's like just to make yourself more likable and more attractive and not targeting a specific person. You know, that's a completely different thing than targeting a specific person. Because it
yeah.
is because sometimes they manifest almost like curses to that person, you know?
Hmm.
Hmm.
And you
oh,
being open to trusting the spirits that you're asking to bring forth someone, they might find someone that's going to be truly perfect for you and not what your ego thinks perfect. Because just because your pheromones are linking up doesn't, you might be good to have children together, but you might not be good in a long-term relationship.
Right.
oh
So as
yeah.
far as love spells are concerned, self-love is the way to go.
Yeah, and you know
Gotcha.
what? I was going to tell y'all about when I was 19 years old. I started doing love spells a lot. I mean, that was one of the big things, along with learning exorcism, was learning love spells. So I had like this really wild dichotomy of going to church, but I was also like trying to do love spells and shit. It was really not the best place to be because I would do something and then I'd feel like I need to go to confession. And it ended up hitting a point where I had this breaking point, and I was on this dirt road, and I called out like, "If there's anything out there that wants to get attached to me, go for it. I don't care." And it all that self-hate came from all these love spells I was at that time purchasing with other people to do, and hoping that the shit would come together. And what ended up happening was I got this negative entity attached to me that at night times I'd be watched like relentlessly. At 3 a.m. I'd be awoken, just to hearing a knock or feeling like I'm being stared at. And I went into a depression for about 3 years. And when I'd have my friends over, when they would go to sleep at night, they would always have this dream of like this undead girl from fear, basically, that'd be haunting them in their sleep. And it wasn't until one night I flipped over on my bed and I saw this like undead girl standing over my bed just staring at me. I was
Oh,
like, holy shit, this is fucked. What am I gonna do to get rid of this thing? And I ended up meeting this girl that was a psychic medium, and I didn't tell her about any of this shit. And we're on a walk. And she's like, "Look, I gotta tell you this, and I don't know how to tell you this. I feel like I need to throw up because this entity that's on you." And she described her perfectly from what my friends are saying about the dream, what I saw, and how this thing was on me. And that came out, that occurred to me because I had so much self hate and just said, whatever wants to come on to me, come on to me. And I ended up, needing to do an exorcism upon myself and give a forgiveness ritual to myself for things in the past. And that basically got rid of it all. But that did occur out of desperation doing love magic and by worrying about when is my outcome going to happen and then putting my own self-image on my own value depending on how that person perceives me. That got me in a very low place. So that's once again another thing that's hard about love magic, like especially if you're not emotionally balanced. And I did not have my shit together back then, that's for sure.
So,
Right.
so I got a question for you, and I don't want you to give up all the sauce. You can tell us whatever you want. But as far as like, if there is an entity that, let's say it's on your loved one, right, and you wanted to try to dispel that, what would be the easiest way, or at least the way you would be willing to teach us about as far as that
Yeah.
goes?
Oh, for sure. And I'll throw out all the sauce I can, man. I want everyone to have this knowledge for themselves, for sure. I would definitely start off with a cleansing of the location. So whether it's frankincense, myrrh, Palo Santo, sage, smudging of all the locations in the house. Doing a banishing of the property itself. And if you were comfortable with Jesus and you want to call Jesus to be there with you, you could call him forth. Or if you're wanting to call forth Lucifer, either way, the job's going to get done. Calling forth that spirit to be with them. And then, kind of like along the same lines of that love spell, printing off a picture or getting the signature of that individual and then putting the sigil over on top of it and then writing out on the back your intention and kind of following that same methodology with the candle and all that stuff and
Hmm.
asking for that spirit to be exercised out of them. And if the person was comfortable with it, you could draw the sigil on them for of Raphael or whoever it may be. And then you could be visualizing that angelic energy inside of them and call that forth to from the inside and out. Like Raphael, bring your sword down within X or YZ right now and adding your power of exorcism and your power of healing within their soul. And may your presence be within this room right now and intensify your power. And just going alongside, and if you are a Christian, there's other prayers like in the Psalms and all that. You can add
Hmm.
that to it. And then I'd also have that person do a salt bath and just sit inside of that for 3 days, for 30 minutes each day and kind of go along those type of ways, and that'd be the first step I would do. And what's cool with radionics is there's this guy who I knew in the UK who was having issues in his house, and so I just got a aerial picture on Google Images of his property. I took that as a picture, and then on the input, I put Michael the Archangel, and on the output, the location of his house. And I just visualized his energy bursting through all the seams inside of his entire apartment complex. And that did change at a distance, and I didn't even need to set foot on the property. So if you can add all those layers on top of it, the
Right.
spirit's not going to have a chance.
Holy shit.
It
That's
seems like there's
awesome.
a little bit of like quantum entanglement going on there as well,
Yeah, I would definitely say so.
because it
I feel
doesn't
like we're.
necessarily seem like distance is an issue with these kinds of things. Byron, you're always talking about sniping people from thousands of miles away or whatever. And it's like, all right, well, I mean, look, I can imagine that in the spirit world or wherever these entities are coming from, that time and distance is probably not a thing, right?
An
Like
Yeah.
illusion.
probably something that they're above. They got a little bit of foresight. They can see it from a higher perspective of sorts. And so maybe that's why it's just, time, distance, whatever. That's nothing to a higher dimensional entity, I would imagine.
Well, it makes me think of Doctor Strange opening up a portal right here,
Mm.
and then you're opening that portal over there. You're just once again, you're the vessel to open that up. I mean, Moses had to call upon that God to be able to part the seas. The God couldn't do it without Moses asking him for the do it. So
Right.
it all comes down to just having that permission. And then if the person knows that you're doing the exorcism and they want you to do that, well, then you have their intention and their desire too, helping manifest that portal to open.
Damn.
This
Oh,
shit is so awesome, dude.
yeah, it is. I love learning about this stuff. I do have to ask you, in relation to the love spell conversation, are there any kind of spells that would get somebody to fall out of you that may be obsessed with you? Just a little conversely here.
Oh, so basically reverse engineer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So when it comes to spirits, if a spirit like Marbos from the Goetia, he can help cause healing for the human body, physical, mental, spiritual body. But just because that's what he does, he can also do the opposite. He can also cause disease, pestilence, and sickness within the body. So if you were to want the opposite effect with a love spell, like let's say you did it and it's fucked, you want to go ahead and you can call for that spirit and reverse it. And or call forth another spirit that's kind of in the same lane as what he does and say, hey, can you help reverse this? And I would say probably 9 times out of 10, you can do that. But there is definitely, if something gets so hardcore, like you put so much magic into it, then you're going to have to put that much more to try and pull it out. And so that's also why you want to be very, when you're going to do some sniping like Byron, you want to make sure you want to take the shot.
Yeah,
That
there
makes
was there
sense.
was one time I put a curse on someone, uh and then it started like really hitting him hard like a year later, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm not even mad anymore." And and I saw how bad it was destroying his life, and I put so much into it the first time that it was like really hard to break it and get it off the guy so he could live a normal life, and
Mm,
That's why you
so.
want a friend like Lord Byron. You don't want that
right.
guy as somebody that, is in the bad corner, in the opposite corner, whatever.
I'm
Yeah.
glad he's on our team, you know.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Man, I just love this kind of conversation. It just reminds me, you're basically saying that you can call on the same love, the same entity that you would for the love spell, and you can use it the same way in reverse. Kind of just reminds me of a tarot card, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
the right side up, it means one thing, the other side, it means something opposite sometimes, but it's still the same card. So
Related though.
yeah, it makes sense that you'd be able to call on a spirit to undo what you tried to do in the first place.
No, totally, man. And actually, speaking of tarot cards, have you both gotten into some radionics, or do you just know about it through Byron?
Yeah,
Really
through
just
Byron.
Yeah, just really through Byron. We're planning on getting one of the radionics machines soon though. Probably, I mean, yeah, definitely soon. I don't want to go into logistics, but for sure soon.
Yeah, well, you can use your tarot cards on that machine for your life. So you could put yourself on the output and then the sun card of a tarot card on the input and help give you more clarity over a situation, seeing the more joyful things, the blessings that you have. Or if you wanted to attack someone, you could put the tower card on the input and them on the output. And since there's so much energy into that card, the psychic energy of that card for the people who know what that is, and it's empower that egregor or that card, you can perform magic spells just with the card itself without calling any spirits forth, just because there's that much psychic energy behind the influence of that card.
Wow,
Uh,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Now you call it, and I'm sorry not to throw you off track here, but you call it egregor. Are we saying it wrong by calling it an egregor? Or is it just
Greg,
another way of saying it?
I think you guys are saying it the same way. Maybe I'm saying
Egregor.
egregor.
Oh yeah, egregor. Okay, I thought you said egregor. I was like, oh, maybe we're
We've
You
heard
know
French.
what? I think I was saying, yeah, my Latin or whatever the hell language, I don't have my pinky up.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard other people say it, in different ways. I mean, we all trying to get across the same kind of point. I think we all understand,
Yeah.
the egregore and the tulpa kind of situation. So,
Yeah.
I mean, so what else? What other kind of services do you I guess provide on a regular basis? I mean, outside of exorcism, you don't do the love spells anymore. What else do you like to dabble into?
So, for my own personal work, I like to do things alongside the lines of like enhancing my physical body and pushing things to another level, like working with King Asmodee and Satanachi. That's really the best way you should say his name. But having them on a vampire box, pulling in energies, and then having them use that energy to help push my body to give me more endurance, give me more life force, as well as I've been working with both of them for weight loss, and I've lost 10 pounds in the past 2 weeks,
Oh, good shit,
and
dude.
like it's been very hardcore. Like I don't feel like I have to eat nearly as much food because I have that energy coming in. I like working with Lugala Beat of Birth and the Necronomicon to be able to better my feats with my writing, and I work with King Paimon to help with my music writing. I'll just light his candle and I'll start writing music to certain beats, and then that can help increase just like, wow, holy shit, all those syllables come together really good, and those type of things. But when it comes to like on jsgarrett.net, I provide three services right now. One of them's called the Juggernaut Rite, and it's a ritual that I perform that gives people the energy to push the momentum of their goals and ambitions. So if they're trying to get themselves in the gym, they're gonna get there a big boost of energy to get them to keep going there and get into a routine to where they can keep pushing the same type of energy forward. So that energy is going to help you be able to find better ways for rejuvenation for your body in particular. It's going to give you the aspirations and inspirations to get you to go to the gym, to get pumped up on feeling that energy of the dopamine hitting you and help get you pushed on doing all those type of things. That's one like probably my favorite one. I do a black web armor, which is spiritual protection armor that I create for people. That it not only gives you spiritual protection, but it helps out your intuition because the armor itself is alive, and so you can also power it up, kind of like how you did the offerings at the rocks, or a radionics box, whatever. But it enhances this armor, and so your intuition, like when you walk into a place, if you're supposed to go talk to a certain person, you're going to be pulled to that person. And you're also going to be able to deflect any negative bullshit that's flung at you. And it's also one of those things that's going to help you find a better way to juggle all your life, how your life goes. So like getting a routine for you to be able to write music in the afternoon, make sure you get your job done, get to the gym, also have time for your family and practice guitar, like whatever it is to help you get into that rhythm to doing that and keep you protected. And then I have a pact that I have with King Beleth called the Lordships of Kings, and it's a year pact. It can be a forever pact. It can be a whatever. It's really for whatever the client wants. But that helps you expand your empire. You meeting the right people to be able to bring in more income into your life. And if you're trying to go up seniority, up in your status at your job, it can help you along those type of lines. And also, like that one's really hard hitting on self love because as you work with that spirit, you're going to love yourself more, see yourself in a different view, and that in and of itself makes it so you can go transverse anything or any path you want because you're going to have that confidence in yourself to be like, I deserve that raise. I'm going to go after that entrepreneurial goal because I deserve to do that. And now I met this guy. So those are kind of the three services I have on there. But yeah, when it comes to my own workings, anything that can increase my energy, body. Actually, very recently, I've been going through a lot of baneful rites because I've had a lot of bullshit occur that's ridiculous. Honestly, absolutely ridiculous. And I will say I've pushed my limits with my baneful rights, and after you've done so much for so long, it's a good time to do a salt bath, do a cleansing, because it's just a lot of chaotic energies that go forth. And I don't do love spells in general, but baneful rituals I don't do for hire either, because if I'm going to do something at that caliber, I have to pull from my own emotion, not out of someone else's circumstance that they could be feeding me a hogwash story. So I don't care if you pay me 5 grand. If you want me to take out someone, like I just don't want to get involved with that. No strings attached on that.
That makes sense. Yeah, I would be kind of scared to be doing baneful magic for others. To be honest, I'd be kind of scared to do it even for myself. But just, I got a question as far as the baneful magic go. What would be a broad, not exactly exact type of example of, a way that you would use baneful magic? Like, let's say, I don't know, somebody at work is being a dick. You're like, you know what? I'm about to baneful your ass. What do you do? Like, what's the first thing you do? What's your go-to ritual?
You know what? This is perfect. So we'll take a work example. There was a guy who he was actually a sociopath, and he was causing a lot of hell for everybody, and he had caused me to get discharged from from a company and then have to get rehired on and all this other bullshit. So I just actually I got it on right now. And JS, this is the symbol that he created, the master key, with the eye, that whole thing on there. So I just drew that out and put a little bit of blood on it with a lancet safely. And then I burned it and I just said, help me be able to conquer the situation and attack this individual to get him to stop attacking me. And so I did it more for even a defense. But what had happened was, when I was going back to get my job, you have to go through this whole phase where they're on one side and you're sitting here on the other. And during that time period, even before he was messaging this girl at work saying, I'm taking my blood pressure medicine and you make me horny. So he was already shooting himself in the foot with those type of things, causing problems for him. During the meeting there, he kept having to stand up and leave. And they're like, you can't get up and leave here. We're in this conference. He's like, no, I got to take this call. And I don't know what that call was regarding, but that kept pulling him out of there. And it all eventually ended up playing out to where these people saw me like, oh, he's not the problem. It's that guy's the problem.
Holy
So,
shit.
so it reversed it, and then they ended up actually getting rid of that guy, and I got my job back. So yeah, that's a baneful right that was not exactly an attack, but a point to where my defense got so good it counterattacked, if that makes
Right.
sense.
So
Oh, that's
you
great.
basically you were talking about the sigil that you made, which is the same sigil that J.S. Garrett uses, the same one that's on your necklace there. So you would draw that on a piece of paper, like with a
Yep.
marker or whatever, and then you would drip a little bit of your blood over that, and then you would go through with the rest of the ritual. That's how that would work.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, I've even done things where I did that with this amulet. I needed a call from someone, and then I burned that piece of paper. I drew that on, put blood on, and 5 minutes later, I got that call. So
So
it's
do you have to cover the whole sigil, like the entire outline of the sigil with your blood, or is it just wherever?
You know, I've done it both, and it's worked out totally fine. You know, sometimes when I'm really fiending for a desire, I'm gonna be shooting out a little bit more. But I've had like friends I've done rituals with, and like I will be honest, the first time you put your blood on a sigil, like that is a hardcore moment. Like for me, it was like,
I
holy
bet.
shit, I'm
It's
now we're
real.
mixing this. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It's
So
on
like
now.
so he put like less than a drop of blood, and he ended up getting everything he wanted out of that. But you know, like how JS he'll do, I don't know if he mentioned this on here, but like a riot deification, he'll sacrifice a chicken onto the spirit of the individual
Oh
that's
yeah.
to help empower their spiritual body, help get rid of the sickness or whatever that may be. And so on that level of things, you would want to have some more blood because I mean, even yesterday I did a ritual and I put a lot of blood into it. And today, like, honestly, not, I went to the gym earlier, but not till like 2.5 hours ago did I finally like feel like my energy was up because I put so much of my psychic energy and blood into that too. So you always have to be wary that blood magic definitely, the cost of it is the energy the next day.
Mm.
Oh, so are you using? I feel like I'm coming across as somebody who's asking specifics because I plan on doing it
I was
myself.
going to say, I'm your like, you only got two coworkers at this moment, so I'm getting a little nervous, dude.
No,
You know,
no, not
I
at
got to
all.
take this call real quick.
I'm just, oh, you're fired. But no, I think, I just want to try and understand it to the best of my ability. But
Yeah.
are you basically using like a diabetic little pricker thing?
Yep, some of these right here. Yep, that just that. And then I pull it out and then I don't know, I don't want to get this censored or anything. I was just getting ready to do it right now. But yeah, zip, zap, zippity da. And that's why I like this amulet so much because actually when I was getting hired onto the job, well, during the phase in which I was supposed to, there was a test I was supposed to pass, and I wasn't passing the test. And so they were discussing about it. So I went out to my car and I put blood on the amulet, and then I walked back in and they gave me an extension on the test, and that was never seen or never heard of. And that was just me going out to the car, putting the drop on there and saying, Shim Yaza, please help me be able to land this job. And then going back in, there wasn't any candles. It wasn't more than 5 minutes. And I still had a whole entire magical effect from that ritual in the car.
Oh,
So
shit.
whenever you prick your finger and you put your blood on that amulet in that case, so let's say you go through with that exercise and then you're walking back in. Are you walking back in with the confidence that you have that entity on your side that's going to help you with this, or is it kind of like you do it, you forget about it?
Oh, if I do that, except especially with this necklace, if I have this around my neck, just underneath my shirt, and I just got done doing that, like I know for a fact, like all I have to do is be, and everything else is gonna unfold for me. Like there's no more doubt. And that's also a reason why I got into magic, because going to church and such for myself, I would be hoping and kind of begging about for a desired outcome. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to be sitting and hoping, well, if I'm working with spirits, I can't have any doubt. Like I'm going outside of a paradigm to make contact with this entity, and me opening up this portal, I'm making contact, and so I will have a result. Otherwise, I might as well go back to church and go sit and hope, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And that's something that something else that I was kind of curious about as far as certain spirits that you work with. That first time that you did some kind of spell just to test the waters, just to see if not only if it actually works, but if you specifically could do it. Was there something, while you were trying to carry out the ritual, was there a moment where you were like, holy fuck, this works? Like, do you remember that moment if that moment occurred?
Yeah, actually it was with Salos, and it was a love spell. It was the one when I was doing my first summoning, when I was calling him forth, I was outside and I said, please give me a sign you're here. And I just heard the pop, just so loud, of the house. And then I said, is that you? And then pop, it happened again. And I'm like, okay, I know I'm in contact. And then it wasn't very long later to where I said, did I make contact with you? And then I saw that picture of that person with their hand in the crocodile. And actually, ironically, too, that day, that person came into my job. And after I saw all that, within about like 2 hours of even seeing that picture, I saw that person inside the cafeteria of the place I was working at, and it was the most mind-boggling thing. And so it's like those little synchronicities, you're like, holy shit, there is a before and after. But during the ritual itself, it's those popping sensations and it's that energetic change that you feel. You're like, holy shit, there is something else here with me. And these voices that I'm hearing, I do think that Eminem and stuff might be tapped into some wild shit. But you do hear a voice, you do feel that energy. But I could understand how some people can go crazy if they don't do meditation and they don't know themselves. I could see how that can make people kind of lose their shit on this path, and I
Oh
do
yeah.
believe that happens to a lot of people. So that's why it's also really good to be grounded and knowing yourself and knowing what you're doing. You're not just shooting in the dark. And once you start the ritual, you better fucking finish it.
That makes sense, dude. Yeah, that is so fascinating. Like, and so you brought up Eminem. You believe that Slim Shady is some kind of entity that he created in some way?
Oh, dude, he talks about hearing voices in so many of his songs, and he's like, I should be locked up in a nut house. He says that shit all the time. And he says he's lost his soul. He's just a vessel, and so I do believe that people do have that type of shit going on where they're connected on that type of level. Now, I don't personally care for that. I wouldn't want to be possessed fully by anything ever. Now, if I'm in the gym and I can get another rep, if a spirit jumps in real quick and I do that, yeah, that's cool as shit. Like, well, I'm cool, open book. But when it comes to just like everyday life and stuff like that, I do like to have kind of my own bounds. So I know it's me making my decisions. And it's not that I have anything against any spirit or anything like that, but I also don't want just some regular bullshit passerby spirit from the graveyard to be in my ear whispering shit. Like,
Just
go back.
some weird old
Uh,
man just saying weird shit. Like, who is
Yeah.
this?
Sniff that hair. Whoa.
yeah.
Wait a minute.
So, Byron, I do have a question for you just regarding this right of general offering. So I had mentioned about how I did it. You gave me a C. L gave me an A. So I'll take it. I mean, I'll take a B average. That's fine.
Right.
But just out of curiosity, is this something that you can do every day? Like, do you give an offering every day, or is this like a every so often kind of thing? Like, basically, if you do it too often, does it start to lose a little bit of juice, or does it always maintain itself and you can do it as often as you want?
I do it almost every day. I mean, I skip days and everything, but I do it almost every day. I haven't noticed any like lack of potency with making offerings. But here's the thing, though, like when you're doing offerings outside, you're making contact with those entities outside. But if you have like a an altar and you make a couple offerings, then it's kind of like empowering stuff that you already have working too, you know? So
Mhm.
like if you have an altar just for prosperity or whatever, like every time you make an offering on that altar, increasing your sales or whatever.
So, do you have multiple altars?
Oh, I have a makeshift one downstairs. I only have one real, I would say, altar, but I have about two or three, I guess. But I really only have one real one. I need to get a couple more set up.
What are the
I had to downgrade when we moved.
for you? What does the basic altar look like? What do you have on there? Like, what are the ingredients that go into this sausage?
I mean, it depends. I guess on this one, I have a small box that's filled with a bunch of stuff that I would keep my money in, that I would program with radionics with a servitor that I made to bring me more money. I got like, my candlestick holder, my candle holder, my candle, a couple idols. Like this one right here is a prosperity altar. So I have Hermes and Zeus, so Jupiter and Mercury.
Okay.
I got a few others. It's just stuff like that. It's just a place that you work, but you want some stuff that makes it look cool, and that's one thing I like about having like one or two idols at least on an altar is it kind of makes it look cooler.
Oh, very well.
But it really doesn't matter. It can just be just a piece of just a table with a cloth on it. It doesn't really matter.
So as far as idols go, I one of our favorite people, she gave us like a bunch of crystals and shit like that. And we did a show where we did an animal spirit guide show. We were trying to figure out what our animal spirit guide was. Well, mine just so happened to be a panda that I like to think represents my grandmother. And she's, passed on. I think she died like 15 years ago or something like that. So would this be considered an idol if I look at this little jade green panda as if it is the spirit of my grandmother, or am I looking at that wrong?
Oh, you could totally use it for that. Yeah. You know,
Uh,
uh, with like I have a. I told you guys about my Super Jupiter pendant, right?
Hmm.
yeah,
Uh, well, when I made my Super Jupiter pendant, I also programmed a little lapis,
Lazuli.
yeah, obelisk, a little tower, just for my altar. So I have the talisman that I can wear, but I also have that on my altar. But with so everyone's different. Everyone does things differently. But if I had a little jade bear, I would probably turn it into a servitor. That's what I would do with it.
What,
You
wear
know.
it as a necklace?
No, I would turn it into a spirit, give it a job, give it a name.
Oh, a servitor.
Yeah. Servitor,
Obviously, it
yeah.
doesn't have to be on a necklace in order to be a servitor. That's just the one that we have.
Right.
Yeah, totally. Totally. It could be anything.
Gotcha.
But if
Right.
it was me, like I that's what I would probably do that. Because a lot of these little crystal towers, I have a bunch of them. A bunch of my servitors are in these right here. Uh yes.
Okay. And that servitor represents what now?
Well, this was my Super Jupiter. uh thing. So
Right.
I evoked Sakael, the angel of Jupiter, Jophiel, the intelligence of Jupiter, Hismael, the spirit of Jupiter, um Bathor, the Olympic spirit of Jupiter, and Zeus. And then I evoked them all and I consecrated the stuff to that on the day and hour of Jupiter. And then I put all that stuff on the radionics machines. I think I used like 5 or 6 radionics machines, all programming it, and then I locked it in. So yeah. But
Same.
yeah, so with the radionics machines, the first one was a battery station, and I used a picture of the planet Jupiter and the seal of Jupiter, the Roman image of Jupiter, and the magic square of Jupiter, and then it was Sakiel, Hismael, Jophiel, Hismael, Zeus, and Bathor, and yeah, locked it all in. And but with the servitors, I like using a so because I also gave you guys crystals too. Remember?
Yep.
Yep.
So I actually made the servitor in those crystals, and then I took the sigil of the servitor and then programmed the necklaces with it. You know,
Hmm.
it was how I did that. You know, so
Dudes, I hope one day that I know about a particular topic the way you guys know about magic. It just blows my mind how you guys just know all this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like it just
you
blows
just
my
got to get
mind.
started, man. You just got to do it. It's just one of those things. You
Yeah.
John,
know?
you got to set out your first offering tonight.
I know,
Yeah,
dude. I know.
yeah.
Like
It's
just out of respect at this point, I think.
yeah.
What's a good entity for Sean to call on for the first time? I mean, I used just the basic moon or whatever. I imagine you probably want to be a little bit more specific, but for like beginners who are trying to carry out one of these rites, what is like a beginner kind of entity that you don't have to necessarily worry
Probably
about?
depends on what I'm looking to get out of it, right? So like let's say
Yeah,
health. Let's
yeah.
say good health.
So I recommend when people want to start getting into like evoking and stuff, but that's probably gonna be like after a little while of practice. But I recommend the Seven Spheres by Rufus Opus, the planetary angels, because you have the planetary angel, and it also teach you about the planetary days and hours. So that's going to build a solid foundation. And then you have the angels, the intelligence, and the spirit of the planet. So each planet has 3 spirits, except for the moon that has like 6 or 7 intelligences to it. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Okay. The seven spheres. I wrote it down, dude. So
yeah, the Seven
okay.
Spheres by Rufus Opus. I recommend that. But I mean, that's I guess for someone who's just starting out. Uh, I don't know. I might say my boy Hermes.
All
He's
right.
a he's a good way to start. But once you get started, like just start tuning into it and doing it every day or every other day or at least once or twice a week. But once you start getting the flow of it, start setting your intention and doing magic to get better at magic and spirituality. And then once you start getting good enough to where you can isolate areas that you need to get better at, then you can, like do magic to get better at evocation or astral projection.
Mhm.
But the first like year or two you're doing magic, you really want to focus on just getting good at it and focusing your intent on that. But with the practical stuff, like getting a new job or a raise, that kind of stuff is good because it kind of lets you know that you can get it to work and
Mhm.
get a physical result out of it. But for the
Right.
most part, I think it's more important to focus on the high magic and getting better at magic, and then figuring out what you're good at, what you're not so good at, and then start getting better at everything that's slowing you down.
All right, dude. I
Yeah.
appreciate that, man.
Oh, let's go, dude.
But everyone's different, because like once you start the journey, you could go this way, you could go that way. It's a
Mhm.
very suggestive and eclectic. Even though I think there's like an objective like reality to magic, it's still like everyone's different. Some people are gonna be better at
Mhm.
astral projection than others. Some people are gonna be more clairvoyant, more empathic. It's just
Mhm.
one of those things. Some people are gonna be better at cursing people. You
Mhm.
know.
Is there are you aware of if there's any upcoming day that would be best that would make certain rituals a little bit more powerful? Like I know what was it, the spring equinox just passed, I think, right? So is there another upcoming day? Should we look for, another full moon or a new
Well,
moon or
yeah, full moons, new moons, all that stuff, and But since it's right around the corner here in about a month, I would say Walpurgis Knot is
Uh,
is a day you want to go hard in the paint on. That's like the one day I never miss when it comes to doing magic and stuff. I take Walpurgis Knot very seriously. I do a big
Right.
ritual every year.
That's rolling around again already, dude. I feel like that was just like a few months ago that you were
right.
telling us about that. Time has been
Yeah, so
moving.
yeah, so April 30th, I would say for those who are listening or maybe thinking about getting into it, yeah, I would say Walpurgis Knot's a good time to do
What
something serious.
Right.
what is the significance of Walpurgis Knot?
Well, it's just a really good like witches holiday. Things manifest really fast on it. Uh, I remember when I was still working at the bar, the very first time I ever did anything on Walpurgis Knot, it was a full moon, which was a big deal. It was a full moon on Walpurgis Knot, and so and I was already good at magic at this point, but I remember tearing off some of the printer paper, from the receipt and ticket machines
Mhm.
and having people write down their name and make a wish. And I'd always have to like kind of correct their wishes a little bit because they don't know how to ask for stuff. There's
Mhm.
another reason why it's good to do this stuff. People are running bad programs all the time and they're slowing themselves down as far as progress. And once you start tuning into this, you can start kind of
Right.
correcting that kind of stuff that you're doing. So I would have someone write down their name, write down what they wanted, and then I would do my ritual, and then I would just put a drop of blood on it, smear it, say their name, say what they want out loud, burn it in my little cast iron dish that I have for burning petitions. And every single person, every single year got what they wanted. Every single person, every single year.
Whoa.
That's awesome.
Well, I just looked it up, and April 30th of 2025, the moon will be in a waxing crescent phase with an
Okay.
illumination of about 12 to 16%, making it visible in the evening sky. This phase occurs approximately 3 to 4 days after the new moon. So
Oh, okay.
waxing's a good thing.
Oh, yeah,
That's
because it's
that's a good
building
time to
up,
set an
right?
intent too.
Mhm.
Right when the moon first starts waxing.
Mhm.
What day of the week is it going to be on?
Oh,
Let me
let's
see.
see. Put me on the spot there, Byron. I was not prepared for that question.
Yeah,
He's usually really good with this.
April
Wednesday.
30th. Yep.
Wednesday. So I was saying Hermes. That's the planet Mercury. That's a Wednesday. Yeah, I would do something with Hermes on Walpurgis Knot.
All
Oh
right.
shit. How about Wednesday? It's gonna be on Wonder Wednesday this year, Sean.
Oh shit. All right. Well, we already know what we're gonna do then, I think.
Yeah.
Byron, I
Let's
think
So
I
get
know when you're
all the
coming
way
back,
weird.
sir.
so get yourself some diabetic lancets,
Fuck yeah.
some candles.
Well,
Damn.
Byron, I think it goes without saying that we're gonna probably want you on that live, I think.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Hell
I'll
yeah.
I'll do it right before I do my rituals. That'd be great. Kind of get me all
Yes.
ready to go.
A
Oh
good
yeah.
primer, you could say.
Yeah, totally.
Well, look, I finally was able to pull the Thoth. How
Both.
do you say it?
I like both.
I always
I
say
like both too.
Yeah.
okay. Well, I pulled the Thoth tarot card for the very first time, and we got the Ace of Swords right
All right.
here. And it actually came with this little book here. So
What's
let's check
the what
out
does
its
the imagery
definition.
look like on that real quick? If you can describe that for
Let's
us.
see. Here we go.
Oh,
You can
okay.
kind of see it looks like a sword.
Is
And
that coming out
it's
of water or
I think it's clouds with the
okay.
sunrise right here is coming
Sweet.
up, and you'll
Okay.
see some kind of crown of sorts that is at
Okay.
the top of the sword. I don't know if it's a crown or if it's sun rays or something like that.
Right. Okay.
But the Ace of Swords, according to Aleister Crowley, says this card represents the first of the mixed elements, as air is as air is the result of the union of water and fire. In the center is a sword implying kingship, which pierces a crown with 12 points for the 12 signs of the zodiac. The divinatory meaning, it says it represents dot dot dot. Oh, that's weird. It represents something very, it says very great power for good or evil, but invoked, and it also represents whirling force and strength through trouble. It is the affirmation of justice, upholding divine authority, and it may become the sword of wrath, punishment, and affliction.
Oh, okay. I feel like that kind of lines up. We're
Getting a
talking
little
about baneful
baneful up
magic.
in here, dude. Yeah.
It can also mean that the person, if they have the Ace of Swords for their feelings for you, means they're ready to get randy with you. So
Oh, Randy.
yeah, I get it all. You get shagadelic, baby.
Do I make you ranty?
Do I?
That's awesome. All right. Well, look, man, this was a great conversation. I love you guys. You guys are awesome.
Yeah,
Elle,
that's
thank
great.
you so much for coming to hang out with us, dude. This was great. I
We'll
think
have to do
very,
it again.
Guys.
very thought-provoking and informative. And I mean, I think you did a great job at trying to not even trying. I mean, you explained everything really well and put it into layman terms, which is what we appreciate over here, you know, because you start busting out the Latin, we're like, all right, calm it down, all right, you know, but you give it to
Hey,
us in layman terms. We appreciate that, man. But if anybody wants to be able to reach out to you or find you or maybe hire you for service, sir, how would they go about doing so?
oh yeah, thank you so much, both of you, for having me on here, and Byron for connecting the bridge. Like, this has been a phenomenal and fun conversation. You usually can't go into the weeds of things, so I appreciate it. So I have my YouTube channel if you want to check out my videos. It's just L the Alchemist on YouTube. If you want to reach out for any certain questions, you could hit up my Instagram or TikTok, which is L the Alchemist. I do have a Patreon page where for $1 a month, you can ask me any question at any point, and I'll give the response or make a video for you for that response. And then at the top point, I have a group ritual of once a month, whatever everyone on my Patreon wants to do. Usually do a poll. Last month in February, actually, yeah, February, I did a combined ritual with Byron for Crossroads Ritual, which is a self-love ritual, basically, empowering that in your path or whatever. And then also, if you were interested in one of those three spells I was talking about, the Lordship of Kings, the Juggernaut Rite, or the Black Web Armor, just go on jsgarrett.net. And if you have any questions about that, there's a help thing that you can ask the help desk, and they'll give you more about that. Yeah, I guess the last thing I would say too is if anyone, it's coming up here really quick here. It's the third weekend of April. We have this boot camp out in Utah, which is gonna have J.S. Garrett, who is on your show, E.A. Quetting, and myself, and you'll be able to spend 3 days out in the desert. And any rituals you want us to do for you, do with you, as well as all this group stuff that we're planning on doing. We're going to be holding that, so you can check that out too on there. And yeah, thank you guys again. Like, this has been excellent. And if you guys ever want to have me on again, I'd be more than happy to hop on here with you guys.
Oh, we would definitely be more than happy to have you back. This was a very, very fun conversation, dude, and we just
Hell yeah.
enjoyed having you on, man.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, man. And of course, Lord Byron, if
Mhm.
this is somebody's first time listening to you, I mean, I can't imagine that it is, but if it is, how do they get a hold of you, my good sir?
As far as contact, yeah, Instagram. Then my main YouTube channel is My Apotheosis, and yeah, that's about it. You know.
All right. Well, go check out both of these awesome dudes. Go give them a follow and on all the social.
Oh, and also jsgarrett.net. You know, a bunch of my stuff's also over there. So
Hell yeah. And I'll
gotta
put
say
that, we'll put that down in the show notes, all the websites and everything pertaining to, you know, everything that we talked about in this conversation. We'll put it all down in the show notes for anybody to be able to have like the easy hyperlink to be able to go and click and just find y'all. But yeah, man, we really appreciate you guys coming to hang out with us. Very informative, a lot of fun, and we can't wait to do it again. And we will do it again because these
course.
conversations,
Oh yeah.
it's just awesome. I love this kind of shit,
Oh
dude.
yeah, dude. And you know that black web armor just sounds fucking awesome. I don't know, it reminds me of Venom or something like that. You know, like you got like a
Yeah.
symbiote that got your back.
I
Yeah.
remember, I think it was the first Wall Purchase Not after I moved out here. You were doing a group right with Eric and stuff, and you did the black web, and I was actually able to feel it and see it. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
He nailed it. It is a symbiote. It's literally that, and I didn't even know that that's what it was going to be. And it was crazy because everyone who I've done the ritual for who has a psychic sense, it's a symbiote of a specific color that they correspond with. And like people who have had red ones, they have been doing more baneful magic and more rage on that type of stuff. And people who've had blue ones that are more for the protection and feeling that peace. So it does come down. It's a unique armor for you. And it is a symbiote, dude. It's crazy as shit.
That's what I was thinking when you were talking about it earlier. That's fucking awesome.
Dude, that is crazy. I literally just watched the new Venom. I think it came out last year, but I just watched it yesterday, and there's been like a lot of weird correlations ever since then. So like you guys are bringing up Venom and talking about the symbiote, and then I just watched it, and then I was editing a clip the other day from a conversation that I went on to Forbidden Knowledge News podcast, and we were talking about like what you may experience in the void and shit like that if you go heavy on DMT,
a
and
little hard in the paint, if you will.
yeah, and I just asked, I always get like ChatGPT to create some of the awesome pictures just to try and depict whatever it is we're talking about. And I shit you not, dude, the end of that video was what seemed exactly like Venom. And then I watched Venom later that day. I didn't even correlate it. And then I went back, I was like, what the fuck? This thing has Venom's face. And now we're talking about it here. It's just weird. I don't believe in coincidences here.
Right. Exactly.
I definitely believe in the symbiotic relationship though. So, but anyway, that's probably for another time. Look, guys, I really appreciate this. And we're also going to be doing a meditation. Byron, are you going to be administering this one again?
Sure. Yeah, I could do that. Let's do it.
Let's get fucking weird.
So something a little more potent to it, I think. You know?
Yeah, I was going to do a more involved one this time.
All right.
Let's go,
Take
dude.
us there.
All right. Well, look, anybody that is interested in joining us for the meditation, then definitely just hang around. We're going to play a little bit of the outro music, then we'll get to the meditation. And then, of course, afterward, we'll have our conversation about, maybe about what the meditation did to us or what we experienced during said meditation. So it's always very insightful, very fun, and magical shit just goes on in meditation, dude, especially whenever you got Lord Byron administering the damn thing. So we're going to go all the way there. But look, if you can't join us for this meditation, then this is where we leave you. And what we like to say is if Lord Byron, Jester, and the Alchemist came here and they taught you anything, it's that you don't know what you don't know. So don't just get weird.
Stay weird.
In a realm where shadows dance with light, through the whispering woods at night, secrets echo through the air, meta mysteries everywhere. Voices drift on winds untamed, words like spells that can't be named. Close your eyes and feel the sound. Journey where no bounds are found. Open doors inside your mind. Leave the ordinary far behind. Colors swirl and stars align. In the meta mysteries you'll find. Power rise from the depths of crystal skies, where the unseen comes to play. Lost in dreams, you lose the day. Chanting truth from ages old. In the unknown, we are bold. Let the podcast guide your sight through the veil of silent night. Waves of cosmic whispers flow through the realms you'll never know. Parallel in every beat, where the mystic story